Poor and working people in this country are sent to kill poor and working people in another country to make the rich richer. And without racism, soldiers would realize that they have more in common with the Iraqi people than they do with the billionaires who send us to war.
From unspeakable acts of evil.
I'm Roger Cole. I'm the chair of the Peace and Neutrality Alliance. It was established in 1996. The reason why it was established, it was our opinion that the ruling elite in Ireland intended to destroy Irish independence, democracy and neutrality and integrate this state into the US, EU, NATO military industrial structures. And our idea was not to build up an individually based organisation, but an alliance of different groups. The most obvious to us expression of this process, of this integration, has been the use of Shannon Airport by the United States of America in its, if you like, doctrine of perpetual war. We organised our first demonstration in Shannon Airport in May 2002. And we've taken part in and supported other organisations holding these demonstrations ever since. For some time now, the main organisation that's affiliated to PANA is Shannon Watch, and they organise a demonstration on the second Sunday of every month at 2 o'clock, from 2 to 3. It's a constant reminder that those of us who are opposed to the use of Shannon Airport haven't gone away, and we have no intention of going away until Shannon Airport is returned to being a civilian-based airport. The chances of that happening are possibly bigger now than they used to be, but nevertheless, last January, the Fine Gael, the Labour government, passed a law saying that it was now the policy of that government to ensure, as part of its aviation policy, additional military aircraft through Shannon Airport. So the need to take part in a demonstration is real now as it ever was. So we've decided to, at least once a year, hire a bus to go down to Shannon to take part in the Shannon Watch demonstration.
My name's Osel Kelly, and I've recently joined the PANA exec, and I'm just on the way down to Shannon right now in order to show solidarity with Shannon Watch, which are an excellent organisation which have been demonstrating to remind the government that there is opposition to the use of Shannon Airport in complicity with rendition flights and with illegal wars for the past 10 years. Absolutely. I think that they're absolutely determined to continue showing through thick and thin, and even in times when wars aren't on the agenda the same way they would have been amongst the public as they were at the time of the Iraq and Afghanistan invasions, that there is opposition. I think it's all the more important at times like this to remind people that it's not just at certain times of the news cycle that these things are important. There is a permanent opposition to the use of Shannon Airport for military means by the US military.
Okay, I'm Pádraig Mannion. I'm the Secretary of PANA, and I'm also a member of the National Executive of the Workers' Party. I think this trip to Shannon is important because this is the 12th year, the 12th anniversary of the invasion of Afghanistan, and therefore it's 12 years that Shannon Airport has been used really as an American Air Force base. And I think for a lot of people, Afghanistan war has been going on so long, it's faded from the news, faded into the background. And most people don't realise that Shannon Airport is very largely at this stage a military airport. Neutrality, it's an insult to our history, and it also makes Ireland, if there is a terrorist threat internationally, it makes us a potential target for that, because we are facilitating an illegal war. We're facilitating extraordinary rendition. We're facilitating the death of innocent civilians across at least 2 countries, if not more. And I think that's I don't think most people in Ireland are aware of that. I think some people to upset Americans. We can't have a corporation tax because it upsets Americans. We can't do this, it upsets Americans. And there is, I think, a very pro-American, pro-business, not even pro-business, pro-imperialist view of the world. I think it's all part of an agenda to shape how we think and to shape a worldview.
Carol Fox. I co-founded the Peace and Neutrality Alliance with Roger Cole, and I used to do a lot of work with the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. For a few years I worked as the parliamentary researcher for the Green Party in the Dáil, and we spent a lot of time trying to find out what was happening at Shannon Airport, and we put down a number of parliamentary questions, some of which got really hilarious in that Brian Cowan at first told us that, well, of course they tell the Americans coming to Shannon that they're not allowed to carry any weapons, not supposed to be on military maneuvers, etc., etc. So we finally established, because somebody saw them, that yes, they did have weapons. They were bringing weapons through Shannon. And then the next response we got a few weeks later from Brian Cowan was, oh yes, they've got weapons, but they don't actually have any bullets in them.
And I'm going to Shannon. I've been involved in the Irish anti-war movement since 2003, and particularly I worked with Mary Kelly, who was charged with criminal damage in 2003, and I worked with her on her criminal trials up till her conviction in 2004, and then her acquittal in 2011 on criminal damage. So I'm very interested in the legal aspects surrounding the trials of anti-war activists in Shannon. There are requirements under the aviation legislation that everything that passes through the airport needs to be accounted for, and therefore can be found out through freedom of information inquiries. But we're almost certain that this is not the case in the case of a lot of equipment that goes to Shannon. And in 2006, a cargo 747 from the United States bound for Israel, full of military parts, missiles and other things, was refused permission to land at Shannon Airport. This was highly unusual. It had to reroute to Prestwick in Scotland, and because it had to refuel, and made a kind of an emergency landing, and it's the only reason we found out about it. Margaret Beckett, who was the British Foreign Secretary at the time, had to answer questions in the Parliament over why this plane was allowed to land without having gone through the proper procedures. And this was a plane taking armaments from the United States to Israel to take part in, I think it was Operation Cast Lead. And it was a rare example of the Irish government refusing to row in with an American-backed initiative. And Shannon Watch is really good at keeping lists of all of these things. But as far as drones are concerned, we don't know, because it's only when something like this happens, like the plane in 2006, that we have any insight to what actually is going through the airport. But we do know what passengers are going through. We don't know if prisoners have gone through. We know that planes which transported prisoners in other jurisdictions, we know that they have passed through Shannon.
Kelly, and I'm on the bus to Shannon Airport today with the Peace and Neutrality people, because the association that I represent today, which is the group The World Without Wars and Without Violence, which is an international organization of people, they would be members in just about every country in the world nowadays. And so our group is actually affiliated to PANA, very proudly to be so. And so today I'm here to, I suppose, to give some solidarity to the people, the anti-war people who regularly campaign and protest at Shannon Airport itself. They constantly monitor the American warplanes that are coming through, the number of troops that are processed through Shannon Airport quite illegally against the Constitution, and also the rendition planes. They've done an enormous amount of work, and if people were happy to go to the website, which would be shannonwatch.com, I think it is, or shannonwatch.org, one or the other, and you'll see the enormous amount of data to do with the processing of NATO and American warplanes coming through Shannon Airport.
Since October 2001, I've been involved in any whatever protests. Definitely. And like a lot of, I get the impression that when I was down in Shannon, there was no support from local people, and basically because nobody beat the horn.
Right.
The only person who did was a foreign person.
Okay.
Well, he looked foreign. And I got the impression that it's good for business, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Ray Fitzpatrick, from Laois, and I'm a member of PANA, that's the Peace and Neutrality Alliance. And the reason I'm going down to Shannon today is to try and put some pressure on this government of ours who talk a lot about neutrality, particularly the Labour Party. We have to remember that the former member of the Labour Party, Michael D. Higgins, was an advocate of the sort of things that we're trying to actually implement. That is to stop renditioning going on, still happening. American aircraft travelling through Shannon with not just troops but illegally abducting people from other countries to torture and carry out all sorts of immoral and acts which are totally opposed to international law. It was, I think, 84% was totally opposed to Ireland supporting any war against the Syrian government. Why is that? I think the Syrians spend less than 3.5% of their GDP on their military and defence budgets, whereas the Americans, we know, spend something in excess of 786 billion. And that's officially, and then they have all their black ops purses, another 50 billion here and 50 billion there, according to Edward Snowden, who has been making all this information available through Glenn Greenwald and the Guardian newspaper. And this is, the media here just ignores any progressive sort of ideas, particularly PANA. I mean, the Red Sea poll is a very important finding, which is suppressed by your run-of-the-mill media.
Behind me you'll see a regular occurrence at our regular monthly vigils, a line of Gardaí with barricades that are completely unnecessary. We don't need to have these here. They know the protests are peaceful. We do regularly take stock of what military flights are at the airport. Today, a number of our members, including Ed Horgan, were at the airport and have just been arrested on what seems to be a very spurious charge. I have talked to the sergeant in charge, who won't give me any information about it. They have, as I said, erected barriers. They seem intent on ensuring that no other peaceful protesters will go into an area where we have a right to be. Nonetheless, at the same time, we have the military aircraft, we possibly have war criminals, we possibly have human rights abusers behind them, and they're turning a blind eye. They're actively condoning their presence there and ensuring that they get safe passage to whatever parts of the world they're going to.
What I have to say is there's no doubt that this airport is not a proper airport. It's a military airport. The Irish Guards and All Ireland are absolutely disregarding every single international law that has been written in allowing us civilians to be in danger of the US military, who themselves have broken every rule in the Book of International Law. And the sooner it's closed down, the better, and that it is restored to civilians for the purpose of going about our lawful business.
I'm Zoe Lawler. I'm with Shannon Watch and with the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign and Gaza Action Ireland. And I live in Limerick, and I'm out here most Sundays for the monthly vigil. Because I think it's a disgrace, as well as against international law and a breach of Irish neutrality, that our supposedly civilian airport is used by US troops on their way to and from illegal wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, possibly detainees being brought to Guantanamo and other black sites to be tortured have been rendered through here. And our government is completely complicit in these war crimes, and they do absolutely nothing about what's going on through this airport here. And in fact, I was reading an article written by Shannon Watch last week, which quoted Eamon Gilmore in 2009, I think, talking about how the planes need to be investigated and what's going through needs to be checked. And now he just takes the word of whoever in the US military or government is telling them that everything is okay. And it's an absolute outrage how these politicians just completely give up any fake principles they allegedly have the minute they get into government.
Today's the 12th anniversary of the occupation by the US troops, not only of Afghanistan, but of Shannon Airport. It's now a military hub and has been for the last 12 years. And that's why we're here to mark it. One of the unfortunate things is that we've now discovered that at an Oireachtas meeting back in January, the chairperson of Shannon's Airport Authority has been saying that it's in the DNA of Shannon Airport to be doing bloody deals with the US military. It's in their DNA, and they're hoping to make a bigger killing with more wars. So that is why we have produced this poster here from Galway. And also here we have a delightful poster highlighting what Obama, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, has been doing to children in Pakistan and in Yemen and in Somalia and in Afghanistan. He's been using his drones. There's the face of a terrorist, so that everybody in the world knows what a terrorist really looks like. In a large container which the US authorities call a coffin, and indeed it is a coffin for so many innocent people in those countries, in Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Afghanistan. And they're transported by Hercules planes, and funnily enough, Hercules planes are regular, US military Hercules planes are regular visitors to Shannon Airport. So it doesn't take much to deduct. There is strong, or as the cops would say, there is strong circumstantial evidence that those killer drones are being transported through Shannon. So we're here again today, and we'll be here again in a month's time, and hopefully there'll be more people going on the runway to try and end this obscenity in our country, this national disgrace.
Please, I'm asking you please go outside the barrier.
No, you're pushing me.
Thanks for asking. But why are you asking?
Talk to him.
I'm asking you please go outside the barrier.
Why?
I'm asking people to be reasonable now and peaceful. You
already
said
that's
the last thing we're getting from you guys at the moment.
He's carried up there because your officer's been.
There was no reason for it.
There's no reason.
There's no reason for stopping us not going to the airport.
Please do not raise your voice. There's no need for it.
Well, then stop pushing people.
Well, I'm glad you appreciate that.
You are pushing people.
Okay, would you mind going outside the railing, please?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking you.
No, I do. I will not go outside there. I can get my property. I've lawful purpose to go up there. You know very well what my property's up to, because that's where you arrested me. And I'm asking you, what part of that is not lawful purpose? If you can't state it, then you're just... Yeah. If you can't state why it's not lawful for me to go up and get my property, why he can't go up, why I can't accompany him, then you're just only acting under the colour of law. You're making it up on a whim, and you know it. If there's a lawful purpose, if there's a reason, if you can state a reason why it's not lawful for me to go up there, then state it. Otherwise, Everyone here knows you're only codding. You're only throwing out smoke.
We asked if the Garda fishing.